The 1960s was a period of great reform as a response to the unfair social conditions many minority groups faced. Across the United States, different people came together to bring awareness to the new democratic ideals that would improve their living conditions. These marginalized groups of people formed their own organizations as a political response to their oppression, such as the Black Panther Party to address anti-Black racism and its roots to resist white power, Brown Pride for Chicanx to reject Anglo-American politics, and feminism to empower women. Within this decade of political radicalism, the Young Lords Organization was created through the leadership of José Chacha Jiménez. The Young Lords Organization was a civil rights group for first-generation Puerto Ricans living in the United States, originating in Chicago and later spreading to New York City. As stated by Daryl Ank Wasner, its members were mostly motivated by both the virulently racist, classist, and sexist oppression they faced daily, and by a sense of love of their homeland and people. Their ultimate goal was to form a new identity within the United States to improve the social, economic, and political conditions of the Puerto Rican people. The Young Lords Organization began in January of 1969 when a group of Puerto Rican college students gathered together to bring awareness to their poor living situation in East Harlem. They habitually began meeting to discuss among one another their oppression, eventually beginning to take action with other progressive Latinx groups. Through community engagement, they did what they could to help, emphasizing the support for all groups of people. Although this sounds progressive, women in the LGBTQ community were still neglected by the Young Lords. The second-class status of Puerto Rican and Black women in the organization was not hidden. They were repeatedly degraded and laughed at by hypocritical men who preached equality. This hatred of women extended throughout all Latinx cultures because of machismo. Iris Morales, in Through the Eyes of Rebel Women, writes that machismo is a complex set of beliefs, values, attitudes, and behaviors passed down through generations by Latinx families. Puerto Rican and other Latin American males are raised to believe they are superior to women, giving them the right to curse, use drugs, as well as beat and sleep with countless women. Men limited the roles of women to continue this double standard, feeling insecure without their crutch. As white society oppressed Puerto Rican men, his women bared the burden of it. At work, he was treated like an animal and forced to endure the pain in order to keep his job. And at home, he turned his anger into violence, harming his wife because of the misery society caused within him. The fight against gender inequality within the Young Lords Organization began to grow in the early 1970s. Women started recognizing the toxicity of machismo, a term embedded in the Young Lords' 13 Points ideology. The presence of this word in the organization's foundational guide preserved male dominance over women. Radical change was necessary, so the Women's Caucus formed to empower these Puerto Rican and Black women who were directly impacted by the fragile masculinity of their men. They educated one another about the patriarchal society in which they lived, analyzing their role in the gendered hierarchy. They organized with other women of color to help spread the new wave of feminism. In response, the Central Committee, a group of 5 men who led the Young Lords, asked the Women's Caucus to be ended. Instead of a positive influence on the Puerto Rican community, the Women's Caucus was seen as a distraction from larger problems. The Central Committee continued its attempt to restrain the Women's Caucus, but its members remained stubborn and began expanding their influence to other organizations, such as the Black Panther Party, Black Women's Alliance, the Third World Women's Alliance, and Chicana feminists. This forced gender inequality to become a major priority for the Young Lords, and no longer could it be ignored. Through their consistent demand for recognition, women's rights in the Young Lords Organization started gaining momentum. Sexism, as well as machismo, were directly addressed and the gender barrier began to break. More men supported the feminist movement, and those who did not were left behind. A new group called the Young Lords Party branched itself off of the original organization in order to fight with women against oppression. Their revised 13 points omitted any implications of gender inequality to stop the spread of toxic machismo. Although male chauvinism is still present today, the revolution within the revolution of the Young Lords Party introduced social justice to women of color. It helped provide a strong basis for civil justice activism. The struggle for human rights is still relevant today, but all marginalized groups now fight together against their common oppressor.